Okay, so we want to install a Joomla template. So if we get this kind of vanilla Joomla site here, this is kind of what it looks like with no template at all, or the default template. So we want to take this to a site that we can really use, right? So we have this powerful web application. Now we want to customize it to, for our specific purpose. Okay. So in order to work with Joomla, we kind of already secured it, meaning that we turned off PHP uploads, we disabled PHP email, we did a lot of stuff which is going to really help us out overall, meaning that it's a more secure way to operate Joomla, and it's going to save us time and headaches later on. But during this initial installation, we have to kind of work with it differently. We can't go straight to this Joomla site. Some of the things that we lock down, are useful on the back end of Joomla here. So we're going to kind of operate in a different way. Now, I think that you'll find that using these tools are going to really help you understand what's going on in your web server, which is great. So the first thing that we're going to do is, now we could do everything via SSH. So if we wanted to, we could go through PuTTY, right? Or your SSH on Windows, or just a regular terminal with an SSH command on Linux. However, sometimes it's a little bit more convenient to use what's called an FTP program. Okay, so FTP, or what we're going to use, is called SFTP. Okay, so FTP is File Transfer Protocol. It is insecure. It's not recommended by anyone, basically. It is used widely on the internet, but it's not secure, and isn't something you should use in an enterprise or business environment. So what we're going to use is called SFTP. So it's secure FTP, and basically all it is it just uses SSH, just like our excuse me, just like our terminal here. But it uses SSH to transfer files and to show us the contents of files. Okay. Now, the one that we're going to use is called WinSCP. On Linux, I like FileZilla, lets you do SFTP. But on Windows, WinSCP here. So we searched WinSCP, W-I-N-S-C-P. We downloaded the portable executable. Okay, so we see this portable executable. We just went ahead and did a direct download here of the portable executable. Once it was down, once we downloaded it, we unzipped it, but we kept it inside the folder. So you notice here on my desktop, I kept it inside this folder, and that's important to keep it inside its own folder because of the fact that you need this INI file to save your settings. Now you can put this somewhere else on your computer, it doesn't have to be on the desktop, but you should keep it in its own folder so that it can have its settings associated with it. You don't want to just keep it in your downloads folder. Okay, so let's go ahead and launch this this file here. This program. So we're going to just double click this WinSCP exe. Okay, and so here we have this WinSCP, and let's go ahead. I already put in the definition for it. So basically, all you're going to do is when you create a session, you're just going to put in the IP address of your server. The port is 22, because remember, it's just SSH. That's all it's using. So it's not a separate FTP server. It's nothing like that. It's just the SSH itself. And then you're going to put in your username and password. You're going to click save, and then you're going to click login. Now I went ahead and said, hey, use the stored password. My computer is pretty secure, so I just store the password. They say that's not advisable, but okay. Okay, so now we're inside of this WinSCP. Okay, and now this is basically a program. So on the right here, this is basically a file transfer program, right? So on the right is my remote computer, and notice that it starts me out kind of in the last place I left off. In most cases, where you would start, if you log in as some user, I logged in as F Carmody, so I would start here under Home F Carmody. Okay, so if you just go ahead and double click this up arrow right here, this up folder, a couple times, you get to the root of your remote system. So now we're in the root of the drive on our remote server, our Ubuntu server. So I use the word root. It just means the base folder of the hard drive, right? Root is also the name of the administrative user. So this owner is, so there's two words, use the words root there. Okay. So in addition, on the left-hand side, here's my local computer. All right. And you'll notice that I'm in my downloads folder right now. A lot of times you start off in like your desktop. Okay. So what we're going to do here is that we're going to transfer over. So in the document I gave you, or you know, it's associated with, it'll be in the comments of this video or that you got with your assignment here. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to download this template file, the zip file from Google. It's one I already found. It's a single page Joomla template. There are many Joomla templates out there. You can go look for yourself if you like, but for this purpose of this tutorial, please use this one. Okay, so we downloaded that just by clicking the Google Drive link. Okay, notice, and then we're going to just download it. So we download, and we saved it. And basically by saving it, it is going to wind up in our, if we go back to our WinSCP here, it's going to wind up in our downloads folder. So if I double click this up arrow, and then I double click downloads. The other way that I can do this is that I can just go ahead and I can literally just use my regular file explorer. You know, if you just want to use the thing on Windows, and I can just upload via that as well. So so it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so basically, but I can just do it inside this WinSCP interface also. So I get to the downloads folder. And basically what I'm looking for here is I have this zip file. It is right here. So this it install package free.zip, okay, which is great. And now we're going to go find this temp file. So in order to install this in Joomla, we have to put it inside the installation. So now on the right here, I'm going to go on my remote server. So I have it under the top level is my root. Then I go into var, var, and then into www, then into HTML. And here is my Joomla folder. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write it into the temp folder here. Now notice my permissions have already been set, but let's go in and do that again just so you kind of know what you're doing here. So what I did previously was that I added my user to www.data. Okay, so whatever your username is here, okay, let's just go ahead and add this to your instructions here. So the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to add your username. Mine's F. Carmody. Your username is your username into the www-data group. Okay, so that's the very first thing we're going to do. So we're going to get a little bit insecure here as we transfer these files over, but it's not going to be overly insecure. So what we want to do here is that we want to add your username, so whatever it is. Okay, so do add user, your username to www-data group. Great. Okay, and it should easily happen. Put in your username. I'm already in there. We also want to go over and notice that I'm in my, this will be in the comments here. I'm just copying these over. So I want to change directory to the temp directory, right? So var www html temp. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to own the entire directory for www var www with www-data. Okay. And I'm going to be repeatedly doing this. So as I do these file operations, I'm going to be doing this kind of over and over here. So basically, but we want to run through this first before we try to upload anything. And the reason for that is that when we get to this uploading, you have to be aware of what user you're using, right? So So right now I've logged in as myself, right? Okay, but if this directory doesn't have rights for me to write into there, so notice that's RWX, right? That's the user permission. So read, write, execute is for the user. And remember, this folder, this directory is owned by www-data user, right? And then we have RWX for the user group. That's a www-data user group, right? Which I am now a member of, okay? And then we have R-X, so there's no write permissions for just anyone, right? So any other user cannot write into this directory, all right? But it's important, if I didn't first add myself into that www-data user group, this would now, I wouldn't be able to write to it, okay? So understanding the users and permissions on your server is really super important. You can't, you really can't function in a command line environment without understanding users and user permissions. So, and it's an important part of security. So what we've done here is we've opened up the security a little bit for us to work on the system. And then we're going to lock it back down once we're done. Okay, so that's the idea. So basically we just kind of like open up security a little bit, we ch-owned everything, and then we, set this kind of permissive permission, right? This 775 permission onto everything. We're going to work on it, and then we're going to lock it back down. Now, would this be ideal? This technique, is this ideal for like an enterprise? Is like if you have, if you're working for a company and this is a website that is dependent, that is highly dependent upon, then this is not an adequate solution for that. You need to have a strategy for rolling out new code that involves setting it up on some kind of testing server, then a staging server, and then rolling all the code over to your production server. And you need to have some kind of build process, and it's a large undertaking. However, when we're doing a personal server, setting up a personal website or something for a small business or something like that, you're only one person, so you have to kind of pare down the process so it's manageable for a single person to do. So that's kind of the process we're doing here. Just know that there's more elaborate processes out there. Okay. So we have added ourselves to the www-data group, user group, right? And there's also a www-data user, right, which is our web server, but we're now in that same group. We have changed our directory to the temp directory. We have set the ownership of all the files and folders to www-data user and group. And then we've ch-owned all the, that is wrong. chmod, all of the files in our Joomla installation, files and folders in our Joomla installation to 775. Okay, so now we're ready to go. So we're just going to use our WinSCP, and all we do is we click our file right here that we want to bring over, our template file. We're going to bring that over and drop it. And if all goes well, you should see this file uploading. Okay, now we could have just as easily done this through an SSH client, but I find that, it really helps people out to have this kind of visual file explorer look to things for some reason. But we could have done this via command line, but it's done already. So now we have it in our temp. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what this looks like. So remember we changed directly into our temp file, to our temp folder. Remember, I did accidentally put in the wrong command here. We're going to redo the command. You won't have to do this because you will just copy and paste what's on the page here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and ls space -al. Okay, and basically what that's going to do is it's just going to list all the files on here. All right. So, oops. So what we wanted to see, I'm going to redo this just to show you. So what we wanted to see was when I upload this this zip file, watch what happens here. Okay. So when I upload this zip file, notice that the owner here of that zip folder or the zip file is fcarmody, right? That's not what we want, because remember that when we start to use this file, when we start to try to install it via Joomla, remember it's going to be PHP working on the file together with Nginx, and that's the www-data user. So it's really important that once we do all this stuff that we're about to do, that we go back and then reset the permissions back so that it all says www-data. And this is a good check. Okay, so you want when you list the stuff inside the Joomla folder for it to say www-data user and www-data group as the owners. Okay. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and unzip. So we're going to unzip this folder here. Okay, so unzip, we get the folder name, or sorry, the file name, and then we're going to unzip it into directory, and we're going to call the directory template. Okay. Also, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to use the sudo command, because remember we're going to change the permissions anyway at the end, so we can just use sudo here, and our permissions are going to be further interesting. So if we list again, notice that now we have the template folder, but it's owned by root and username root. So because I unzipped this zip file with the sudo command, right? So that's me becoming root. Now this is root, user, and group. Okay, so you can see that if you don't understand and if you're not aware of these permissions, that things can become pretty complicated pretty quickly. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do, so we went ahead and we're all set. We unzipped all the files into our template directory. We could name it anything. I just called it template, and you'll see in just a minute how we use this. The last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back and I'm just going to sudo chown for www for all of our www. It's a lot of W's. And I'm also going to chmod -r775 for the var www HTML directory, right? And that's recursive, so it gets all the files and folders. Okay, so now we've unzipped everything. We've set all the permissions. Now we're ready to install our template. So we're going to go back to our control panel here, and it logs you out pretty quickly. So I'm going to log back in, and we're just going to go up in Joomla up to extensions and then manage and then install. Okay. And then we're going to put install from folder. So notice we can do a couple different things. If you click install from web, this is super convenient. We're not doing it this time. We'll go over this later on. Basically, when you click on this for the first time, it says, hey, do you want to enable installing from web? You say yes. And then you just have access to all this stuff right from Joomla. And this works with our lockdown permissions even, okay? In our case, we wanted to use a particular template, so we needed to do it the other way. So, okay, so we have install from folder, and notice that we have temp, and I'm just gonna say template, and I'm gonna go ahead and check and install. Okay, so installation was successful. So that is how to install a template or any other extension in Joomla using WinSCP. Okay, so it's our secure file transfer, and then using our command line to unzip the files and to set permissions on them. Okay, best of luck.